On Monday, we began our coverage of politics and the media in Australia with a quick opinion piece on the FriendlyJordies saga. We at Politicosis have years of politics, policy and journalistic experience. The events that have occurred have caused us to be emotionally invested in this saga, as we believe it is a direct attack on the Fourth Estate. For those who don't know, the term Fourth Estate harkens back to the estates of the realm, when the system was made up of clergy, the First Estate, nobles, the Second Estate, and peasants and bourgeois, the Third Estate. It wasn't until the French Revolution in 1789 that the press was recognised as the Fourth Estate, with the mandate of holding the other three estates to account. It's a tried and true system that has lasted through until modern day. However, in recent years, particularly in the last decade, with the rise of citizen journalism and Web 2.0, we've seen federal governments, also known as the executive, intending to quash independent journalism through media reform, spurred on by monopolists globally such as the Murdoch Empire. It is prudent that we perhaps look at some of the media outlets that have covered the FriendlyJordies saga, just to give you an idea of the sort of coverage it has received. You would think that given the fact that this incident gravely impacted the freedoms of a member of the free press, that there would be fair and equitable coverage of what has occurred. Let's take a look, shall we? As of the time of writing, we could only locate 3 television stations that covered this event: commercial channels 7 and 10, along with the ABC. A quick check could not find any coverage of the incident on Fairfax Zone 9 or its subsidiaries, nor on SBS. Let's start with how the 3 clips introduce the issue.
A producer for YouTube commentator FriendlyJordies has been arrested, accused of stalking and intimidating Deputy Premier John Barilaro.
New South Wales Police have charged a 21-year-old producer from YouTube comedy channel FriendlyJordies with allegedly stalking and harassing the state's Deputy Premier John Barilaro.
An employee of a YouTube comedian has been charged with stalking and intimidating the Deputy Premier.
Interesting to note that all the media organisations led with the fact that Kristo Langker was arrested, or charged, that it was for stalking, and that John Barilaro was the victim. Channel 7 cuts to the footage, while to its credit ABC mentions Xenophon Davis's thoughts on the legal matter. It's there that things go a little bit differently. Let's start with 10, shall we, when the newsreader voices over the remainder of the video, whilst showing select imagery of the video from FriendlyJordies detailing the fact that he was arrested by the Fixated Persons Unit. They also conveniently obscure the fact that it's a counter-terrorism unit. Dominic Perrottet, who's likely never seen a FriendlyJordies video by his response, gives his response, which is the standard, "I'm sure the police are doing their job." Langker's representation at Xenophon Davis was referenced in a quote, and the video conveniently cuts to black without showing the footage of the men storming into Langker's home and the ensuing chaos. Given it's the home of the project, we're probably not too surprised by this. Let's move over to 7, owned by Kerry Stokes, and the coverage is a bit meatier, with them also beginning the coverage with the arrest details. However, the newsreader also does mention counter-terrorism officers and bewildered family in their intro, which also features the chaos of the moment the officer steps inside the house. At least that's 2 up on 10 News, home of the project, right? It features an interview with Langker, details his bail conditions, and even Helen Dalton makes an appearance, albeit via quote, so it's not bad coverage, right? Of course, this is tempered by the overdubbed commentary of Tom Hartley, whose glasses look like they were ripped straight out of the Thunderbirds, or maybe he's the doppelganger of Arrowverse star Adam Seckman. Who knows? The tone changes, and the reference actions are that the videos that FriendlyJordies had released were having a go at the New South Wales Premier. The inflection lends credence to the fact that this was a thinly veiled swipe at the content. He then goes on to mention Barilaro's lawyers, saying that the videos were vile, offensive and contained allegations of corruption. Well, nada. But what I think is really concerning is the fact that the stalking allegations are then mentioned on top of the footage of the alleged incidents, neither refuted by Hartley, and simply mentioned as accusations by the police. However, to anyone not knowing the backstory of what happened, it would be easy for them to make up their mind and think that this was the evidence that was clear as day in favour of the police. The ABC. Surely a media organisation funded by taxpayers would be bipartisan in its coverage, right? The ABC cuts to the footage of Langker's home being entered, but it's referred to as an edited video. There was nothing edited about that footage at all. It was straight from the camera. That footage was counterterrorism officers using excessive force against an older woman. They didn't edit the sickening thuds and screams from Langker's mum as she was felled, and the full footage isn't shown either, just a brief moment of the chaos. The officer's defense of, "I tripped over," was of course shown, almost in an attempt to draw empathy for the viewers. Oh, and we're treated to the news that no complaints have been made about the arrest. Cut to Mark Davis from Xenophon Davis, who gets a whole 10 seconds of the 2 minutes and 14 seconds video to discuss the severity of the incident, before more overdubbing by journalist Rita Heyman of the charges, on top of the same footage of Langker approaching Barilaro on the street, cutting clearly only where Langker says, "You're suing my boss." The only part of the interaction that is similar to the police report on the matter. Convenient. More footage is shown, where again, to their credit, ABC do mention the fixated persons unit and how it falls under counter-terrorism purview. Then Mark Davis gets another 5 seconds. We cut again to Peritet defending the police and liberal principles before it begins to get a bit murky. Cue Peritet again, who says that this matter isn't a top priority for the New South Wales state government. But then why are the fixated persons unit being called in? Why are none of these news outlets actually calling it how it is? A gross misuse of power when people in need, people who are being harassed by stalkers, who are making their lives living hell, can't even get the police to investigate. I'd share the written articles online, but they basically mimic their televisual cohorts, carefully tiptoeing around the issues of corruption that FriendlyJordies has brought to light, whilst painting Barilaro as some kind of victim. He's not. There's a reason why there's a fairly flattering picture of Barilaro in every article, and not any of Kristo Langker. It's because they want us to feel sorry for Barilaro. Of course, it doesn't help when even Facebook is joining in, disbanding the Facebook group of FriendlyJordies' Common Sense Brigade for being a, wait for it, dangerous organisation. Throw fuel on the fire. And then you have people like former Labour leader Mark Latham, who's now with One Nation, whose slanderous accusations border on defamation themselves, spewing vitriol on Twitter. It's not surprising that with these people having a mouthpiece, that we are where we are today. However, it is admirable to see the YouTube community back and support Jordan and his crew. And if you haven't already, you should go and follow some of these YouTubers, especially the smaller channels, such as those that we're showing in the background now, and we'll put those links in the description below. In a poetic fashion, it's another YouTuber that sums it up superbly. In the words of Count Dankula, a producer was arrested by a counter-terrorism unit, and a comedian is under risk of arrest for making fun of a politician and for asking him questions while dressed as Luigi. The FriendlyJordies situation.